Hey everyone, Nate Zeisler here with the second edition of the Longtail Sessions, where I bring different guests in each week to talk about their careers, things that are going on in their lives, and talk about some great music in the meantime. My guest this week is Jazmín Morales, who works with me here at the Colburn School. Welcome, Jazmín.
Thank you for having me.
So great to have you. And to start out, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your path, and what got you to Colburn?
Sure. So I'm a violinist by training. I grew up playing classical music, but also mariachi. My father was a mariachi while I was growing up, and he's still an educator in music. So I grew up sort of in the space between Western and folk art, and was sort of intrigued by the practice of making music and how people interacted with it. And so when I went to college, I decided to study ethnomusicology at UCLA for my undergrad. And then after that, I moved to San Diego for a couple of years, where I worked for the artistic department of a major presenter there, the La Jolla Music Society. They also produce a major chamber music festival called Summerfest, and that's it was a really complicated job. It was a very high pressure environment, but I loved it, and I said, if I can last here for at least 2 years, and I know that I want to have a career in the arts long term, and I could commit to paying for graduate school in this discipline. And so after 2 years, I still loved it, and I said, okay, I'm definitely a lifer. And so I applied to different arts management programs and decided to come back to LA to a program at Claremont, where I just finished my Master's of Arts Management.
That's great.
Earlier this year, yeah.
That's great. So you've been at Colburn for about a year.
Correct.
And tell me just talk a little bit to our listeners about the work that you do here and why you felt like this was a good fit for you as a next step.
Yeah, so I actually started when I was still a student in graduate school, and at the end of my program, students are able to choose between either a consulting project or what they call a startup studio project, where people would generate new ventures, and that looked in a myriad different ways. But I decided to go the path of the startup studio and use that as a time for sort of internal exploration of the next step that I wanted to take in my career. Because I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in artistic programming. And so it was a really awesome opportunity for me to start taking inventory about what I really cared about and the work that I wanted to be doing with my career. And I sort of got to a place where I said, okay, I grew up playing mariachi mostly with women, and those were some of the most empowering experiences for me as a young artist, making music with other women, particularly other women of color. But one thing that I had always noticed is just the severe lack of them in other places in music, especially in classical music. I was, the only woman of color in my youth orchestra, and I was also the concert master, and so that brought a very unique set of challenges that I had to navigate as a young person, that I knew that I was passionate about changing for the next generation.
That's great.
And so this project started as, I said, okay, I want to see more women of color on stage. How do I do that? Maybe it's an agency. They just need more work. They need someone to give them work. And, then I started, developing this idea further, and I was like, wait, there are no women of color to engage at the level of an agency. Yeah. Maybe it's, a college program. Oh, wait, they're not really populating college programs either. And so I broke down essentially the pipeline that women of color enter through and are educated through in music education, and identified a couple of big gaps. And one of them is between middle and high school, where there's a big drop-off rate. And so I wanted to create a program that would reach young women of color while they're still making decisions about their future. And so thus was born the Fortissima Fellowship, which we are proudly piloting this Saturday here at Colburn.
Really exciting.
Yes, and so this is an artistic and leadership development program for young women of color in classical music that provides private lessons and leadership development training to a small cohort of 6 girls who demonstrate extraordinary promise on an orchestral instrument and have an interest in pursuing a career in music.
That's really fantastic, and of course we're thrilled that you're launching this program in just a few days. Talk to me about the outcomes that you hope to attain through this program. What is the goal for the program that you see over the next 5 to 6 years?
Totally. Well, the leadership component focuses on 3 core themes: self and cultural assessment, mentorship, and professional development. And the goal is to empower young women of color to own their creative voices and eventually thrive in a high-level artistic environment, be that a conservatory, eventually hopefully an orchestra one day. And so the goals are really to empower young women to know that they have the freedom to be artists should they choose to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really fantastic. And again, we're super excited to have the program coming online, and also thrilled to have you here. I can't believe it's already been a year
I
that
know.
you've been
Flew
at
by.
Colburn. Yeah. Well, so this is all wonderful. I think the what we always try to do, or what I always try to do with these episodes, is to capture some great art. So who are the artists that you're listening to? Who should we know about? I'll toss it on our Long Tail Sessions mix for the week and put it up online for people to listen to. But who are some people that we should know about?
Sure. Someone that I'm just consuming voraciously at the moment is an artist called Presidente, who used to be part of the rap duo called Calle 13 from Puerto Rico. And he just did an incredible project where he traced his musical DNA around the world.
That's incredible.
And produced this stunning album. And actually the intro track is done by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and it discusses how they realized that they were related to each other when they visited his grandma.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And he takes us on a tour of the globe pretty much, and raps over Eastern European folk music and African music. It's just amazing, and he's very politically active, and he has a very powerful message. So, La Presidente.
Nice. Great.
Yeah.
Who else? Two more artists.
Yes, so, and you know this one, my favorite of all time, Helado Negro, who is an electronic artist, Ecuadorian, lives in Brooklyn, very just awesome artist who, he actually started as a sound designer. He would do sound installations in basically cool spaces, and his music has a lot of that sort of ambient, the ambient vibes, but he's most famous for a track called Young, Latin, and Proud. That's just like the groovy anthem that all brown people were waiting for. But what the cherry on top is for Helado Negro are his tinsel mammals, where these dancers who dress up in full tinsel garb and just shimmer and sparkle on stage. It's enthralling.
I remember seeing him 2 or 3 years ago at the Music Center opening for Sufjan Stevens, and it was mind-blowing.
Yeah, they're just
really
stunning.
Amazing.
Yeah. And the last artist.
Yeah.
So Solange Knowles, who I claim she is a more talented Knowles sister, but so Beyonce's little sister Solange. Her album A Seat at the Table has just been monumental, and it's just a stunning album that is really empowering for young women, I think, especially young women of color. And I think one thing all three of these artists actually have in common is that they have strong visual components to their work.
Yeah.
And I think Solange, more than all three of them, I mean, more than the others, just has really hit the nail on the head with her visual aesthetics on stage.
Yeah.
And, all of her musicians are people of color, women of color. And it's just so awesome to watch. And
Cool.
in these amazing venues that she's performing at the Met, she just did a solo show at the Hollywood Bowl. They're really interesting venues. Yeah.
Amazing. Great. Well, I'll add tracks to all three of those artists to the mix for this week, so be on the lookout for that. Two more questions for you. What technological tool or product or something, what is something that you're using that our listeners should know about to help them do their jobs better, or help make their lives easier?
Sure. So Venmo is actually a tool that I use a lot day to day, especially as a freelance musician that I still play here and there. It makes, paying people so easy, and, it's really safe. So it's definitely something I recommend to everyone out there. If you're not already on Venmo, it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely the connection to PayPal, the fact that PayPal actually owns Venmo gives me a lot of confidence to use the product. I use it all the time. Everything from going out to dinner with friends to the exchange of payment for things that I do in my professional career.
Yeah,
so.
even with people far away. I just collaborated with the graphic designer in New York and just paid him over Venmo. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's really making the world a small place in many ways. Great. Okay, and what should we be reading? What book is on your bed nightstand?
So I'm actually rereading a book by one of my favorite authors, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, called Americana, which is a stunning story. It's an American story told by a woman of color's perspective. I would read it back to back with Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me. I think they are very complementary, and it's just a stunning portrait that I think a lot of Americans would learn a lot about.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely check that out, and I'll add it, for those of you who are listening, I'll add that to the show notes right underneath this video. So check that out. Check out the book, Venmo for sure, and the artists on the Longtail Sessions mix for the week, which is on Spotify. And thank you so much for listening. If there are artists that we should know about, tools of the trade that we should know about, let us know in the comment section below. And also, I'd love to give you the opportunity to share with me things that you want to know about. So if there are things that I can be helpful with in your life or your career, type them in the comment section below. And thanks so much for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.